Why Not? A queer podcast.
Thank you to our sponsor, Pineapple Healthcare, an award-winning primary care clinic right here in Orlando.
Pineapple Healthcare offers mental health counseling, HIV, STI testing and treatment, and specializes in care for the LGBTQ plus community.
Open Monday through Saturday. Call today at 407-553-6336 and schedule your appointment.
Pineapple Healthcare. Better together.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Todd.
And I'm Jeremy Williams, and you're listening to Wine,
Why Not? A queer podcast.
episode 83. How exciting. I actually, because it's always awkward here. It's like, oh, what do we say after this?
What?
So I wrote some nifty little fun facts about the year 1983. I thought it'd be fun to share.
Ooh, let me see if I can guess one.
Sure.
I can't. Is it the year, did E.T. come out that year?
I don't know. I didn't write that one down. But it sounds like that's
I'm gonna
around.
look it up.
But Michael Jackson released Thriller, which debuted at number one and is one of the all-time. I think it's the all-time selling album. Sally Ride became the first woman in space.
All right.
The CD player was developed.
I heard that all she wants to do is ride around Sally.
I think she died. And then my brother Joey was born
Oh, look at
in
that.
1983.
Happy birthday,
So,
Joey.
Good year.
E.T.
all
came
around.
out in 82. So
that was last episode.
I thought about that last episode.
Yeah.
You were alive, yes.
I was, yes. I was
You were
4.
alive in 82.
Oh, I was 3.
So you were, or in 83. So you were
I was 4.
I don't. Does it say what month? Because you might have been 3. What month did Thriller come out?
Thriller? Let's check. Because I don't know. You know what? I do remember watching the making of the Thriller video. They played it on NBC before they showed the video.
December of 83. So
Oh,
you were 4.
I was 4.
That was a big deal.
Huge deal.
I remember, if you were 4, I was 9, right? But I just remember that being a big deal. And we all sat down on that nasty shag brown and yellow carpet and looked at our console TV to watch it. It was a big deal.
They did the premiere. I remember it, even though I was only 4. They did like a big behind the scenes special on NBC and then premiered the video. And it was a huge event. Not today. Music videos get dropped on YouTube, and then people are like, oh, I'll send you the link.
I saw an ad the other day for MTV's Video Music Awards.
Yeah, they're coming up
What are they
in a few weeks.
What are they giving awards to? Are there videos still? Or
There
there a place for people to watch them?
YouTube. As far as I know, all musicians just drop their music videos on YouTube. I don't even have cable, so I don't even know if MTV still plays them. The last time I had MTV was probably about 10 years ago, and the only video block was from like 4 a.m. to 7 a.m.
What's the last music video that you watched?
The Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars one that came out last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You watched it. Okay.
I'll go to when, like an artist that I like, if they release a music video online, I'll go look for it. But it's not, I don't have a spot where I'm just like, scrolling through. It's like, oh, look at the new music videos that came out.
You know what mine was? Thriller.
Oh,
No, not really.
I was like, didn't watch MTV at all in the 80s.
I was a fan. Isn't that what? Didn't when they started to stop playing just videos, that TV show Remote Control was on? Did you watch that?
Yes, I love that
I was
show.
a huge fan. That's when Adam Sandler was super hot.
Yeah, he was on it. I think Jon Stewart had a very short-lived talk show on MTV in the late 80s.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. Who was the host? He had like shaggy curly hair of Remote Control. I can see his face.
Oh, it
I
was
just can't
Colin
remember.
Quinn.
Was it Colin Quinn?
Colin Quinn was the host of Remote Control.
Then I'm thinking of another show that's similar to it, but there was, I can't remember his name, but he was had like curly dark hair, and he wore sports coats, but the sleeves were pulled up like Miami Vice.
I'm wrong. Colin Quinn appeared on it, I guess, but it was Ken Ober, which is probably who you're thinking about. Yeah.
Yes,
I was wrong.
he
We're
did the
live
Miami
fact-checking
Vice
here.
thing. It was that's
did-
all I remember.
Yeah, now he kind of reminds me of like thinking of him. I can't picture him, but I'm picturing the kid from the movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield and the kid that played his son, and I'm thinking that's Ken Ober. I think they probably look alike.
Probably. You know who I think of when I see the guy in my head? The guy who did the voice of Roger Rabbit. That's who I see in my head. But I don't know. I think it's the hair because they had similar hair.
Oh, I'm looking at Ken Ober, and there's definitely new pictures of him. Oh yeah.
Nude?
Yeah. No, I said nude.
Oh
my God.
I remember he seemed like a nice fella, but not someone I wanted to see naked.
No offense, Ken, but
I don't want to see you naked.
Whether they were taken in 1983.
Hell, Ken doesn't want to see us naked
or
either,
now.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
So
I mean, nobody does.
no disrespect, Ken.
Nobody does.
But yeah, I love that show.
I don't even think my husband. I've just lost some weight. I gotta let the skin needs to tighten up a little.
Yeah. By the time we're at the end of our weight loss journey, we're going to look like flying squirrels.
I was thinking like, a cow grazing the fields, but yeah. Get down on your hands and knees and it all just kind of comes down.
Nice set of udders.
Sounds utterly disgusting. So how was your week, Jeremy?
My week was pretty uneventful.
Tell me you did something. Otherwise, this podcast will be 10 minutes.
I mean, I did stuff. Most of my week was taken up with the Democratic National Convention. I was obsessed with it.
Obsessed.
So I went home every day, and instead of hanging out with friends or going to do anything fun, I just sat in front of my TV and watched the DNC.
Which was fun.
Yeah, it was a party. Quite a party.
Yeah. I got to tell you, it doesn't matter to me what's happening in the world. All you have to do is put Tim Walz up there smiling, and I get warm fuzzies.
Yeah.
It's just
he's
watching him
nice
smile makes me happy.
Yeah. And they had the Chicks and Pink were there, and I love all of them.
Can I just say this,
Pink
though?
Chicks.
How do you think the Chicks did?
I thought they were fine. I'm not a music guy. A lot of people on Twitter were like, oh, they were quite pitchy. But they were also the same people who are like, oh, Kamala Harris is going to ruin the country. So I was like, they were fine.
You weren't listening to it like, yo, dog, for me, for you. That wasn't the right song.
No, Randy. I thought they were fine.
I love the Chicks, right? It's on my playlist. That song, their comeback song when they were so mad at the world.
Not Ready to Make Nice.
Such a good song.
Do you know that was back when you had, when I had iTunes, it counts how many times you listen to a song, and then you can look at your top 10 songs. When that song came out, I listened to it on repeat and then fell asleep. And it was my number one song for years because it was like, you listened to this song 1,200 times. And it's like, did I?
iTunes is like, Jeremy, why are you so angry?
It's time to make nice, Jeremy. And then I moved on from iTunes.
I kind of wanted them to come out there and say, I'm still not ready.
Yeah.
I kind of want to. Now, they were definitely pitchy. It was definitely like, I just figured that somebody's earpiece monitor or something wasn't working correctly because you could tell the one lady was fidgeting with it.
Yeah.
And I always felt bad for them because they are obviously very talented. Yeah, what's another song that they sing? Something about
Cowboy Take Me Away.
No, that's your
Wide Open Space.
That's your dream, I think. Now there's one. Isn't there one about a lady that works and there's this guy who's joined the military and he goes there?
Oh, Traveling Soldier.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, good song.
I listen to that a lot.
Yeah.
They're good.
All
Anyway,
of the
it was good. Pink was great.
Pink was awesome.
Pink singing with her daughter was really cool. Right, her daughter was there. It's so funny. I was trying to think. I was telling Dylan. I texted him right before this, and I said, "Did we do anything?" I was like, "I don't think I have anything to talk about." We both completely forgot that we watched it. He hated it.
The whole thing?
Just hated the
Was he a Republican?
No, he hated the idea that I had to watch every minute of it.
Oh.
So from like 5 until midnight. Every day it was on.
Yeah.
And he had to get up early, like at 5 in the morning on Wednesday morning. So when I stayed up till midnight watching it, he was so mad. But, he's like, it is what it is. I was like, it won't happen again for 4 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's
It's like the Olympics every 4 years. But yeah, I thought it was great. The Obamas were good. The Clintons were good. Oprah was good.
I liked them all.
Yeah.
It was just such a good feeling, and I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Gave me a lot of hope.
So, yeah.
I
hope
thought
and
she,
joy.
by the way,
Amazing.
It was.
I don't. You know this about me. I don't cry. I was getting teared up when she was talking. I was getting moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing was doing it for me. You know, it was. She really just seemed like when she walked out on that stage, I was like, all right, Madam President, we'll take it. We'll do it. I think more so than anyone. I mean, except Obama, you know, but even maybe more so than that. I just really thought it was great. And let me just say, if your arguments against her from the Democratic National Convention are that she said thank you 100 times before she started speaking, oh, God forbid somebody say thank you to people who are cheering for them.
Yeah. I'm sure you're speaking of one particular person who had a problem with it. And if his audiences cheered for 3 minutes straight, he'd probably have to say thank you repeatedly before they stopped.
He wouldn't say thank you. He would say, you are right.
I am the best.
I deserve this. And I know you're listening right now. I know you're listening, Donald.
To everything.
Do you know why I know he's listening?
The time.
Right, because we're going to put in the description that we talked about Donald Trump. And so he's gonna, we'll say president, former President Donald Trump. That'll get him to listen.
Yeah. You know he sits on his toilet at 3 a.m. every morning and just Googles his name to see all of the mentions he's got.
He's got Google alerts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
What you doing on the toilet at 3 a.m.? Listen.
Hey.
Eat a little less
I don't like Trump,
fast food.
But sometimes you got to sit on the toilet at 3 a.m. It can't be helped.
I got a question. I got a question. What are you eating that's putting you on the toilet at 3? It's because it can't be good.
I mean, it's not great, but it's tasty. Yeah, you never had an inkling for Del Taco or Taco Bell at like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night?
I put it in Caitlin's job description for 2 months that she look up when Del Taco down the street opens. So yeah, I've had a hankering for some Del Taco.
Sometimes that'll put you on the toilet at 3 a.m.
Yeah. I don't think I it's been so long since I've eaten anything like that. I can't even imagine what would happen if I did. Maybe we'll do.
Splurge on a taco every once in a while. Enjoy joy. That's what I learned last week. You gotta have joy in your life.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. I gotta go. I hit that goal, and then I can introduce things back into my life. So what else?
Speaking of that, I had my doctor's appointment, and we checked my blood pressure. And let's see, what did he say? Good God, Jeremy, you have stroke level blood pressure. So that's awesome.
Did he really?
Yeah, stroke level. So we upped my blood pressure pill, and he put me on a water pill.
Good God, did that actually put you in full on stroke mode? Because it's like maybe don't use the words "good God, Jeremy, you're in stroke level blood pressure" if your blood pressure's that high. Because it's not going down when you hear that.
Yeah, oddly enough, I was not fazed by that. I was just like, all right, just tell me what I need to do. And he gave me more pills, and I started walking this past week, so we're working on bringing it down. What else happened? Visit the doctor, stroke level blood pressure.
How's everything going with your journey here? Do you want to check in on that? Or
Good.
You don't have to.
We're up in the dosage. We're going to go 2 milligrams, and so that is on its way in. And next week I'm starting on Nutrisystem. So
good.
We're 1-2 punching it.
Yeah.
Because last time I was on Nutrisystem, I lost a bunch of weight. But then I had to come off of it because I'm poor. Came into a little bit of money and decided to get some Nutrisystem with it.
So the thing is that when it comes to losing weight and eating healthy, it's more expensive.
Yeah.
Right? When you can just go to, get some cheap food. Although I did hear that fast food is becoming so expensive that it's cheaper to go to a sit-down restaurant and order a hamburger than it is to go to fast food and get a hamburger.
I can see that. It's cheaper to go to Aldi's and buy the stuff to make the hamburger, 100%. And I'm learning that.
And it's better for you.
Yeah.
But if you get like the good stuff, like then you make, okay, you want to be healthy and you get a turkey burger and then you want to make it 0 points, then you got to get the 99% lean, and then the price just goes way up.
Yeah, not as much as if you sit down at a restaurant, but it's a little more expensive. But
do you know how hard it is to find a turkey burger at a restaurant? I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but there was a time where it was a fad, I think, and everybody had a turkey burger option.
Yeah,
no.
I've seen a lot of black bean burgers, vegetarian options lately.
Do you know has a good one?
Do what?
Do you know who has a good one?
A good black bean burger?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to think of the name. It's over there by Epic. by the theater, and it's a place where we did a Watermark Wednesday when it had a Winter Park location, or a Third Thursday when it had a Winter Park location. It'll come to me. Oh, and I'll just shout it out of nowhere. Marlowe's Tavern.
Marlowe's Tavern. I was
Boom.
just going to say they had the chickpea fries.
Yes.
Ooh, excuse me. Ooh. I got excited over those chickpea fries.
Sorry about laughing in the microphone like that, but yeah, I mean, those chickpea fries deserve that kind of
Yeah,
reaction.
they were good.
They are good.
They were really good.
Chickpea fries.
I want some chickpea fries. What else? I mean, that's basically it. I went to Barnes & Noble this past weekend, which I don't live over in that area of town anymore, and we don't work in that area of town anymore, so I very rarely get over there. And I think it might be the only Barnes & Noble left in town. All the ones I know of, they've shut down. So we went over there and got some books because Chris and I are going to Miami for Labor Day. And I'm going to be one of those chill people trying to lower my blood pressure by sitting on the beach and reading some gay rom-coms.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, so it should be a fun time. You're going to
I
get a
was
big
like,
floppy hat.
You're not going to like
a
walk
big
around
flowy
downtown,
gown.
right? Because that's not going to lower your blood pressure.
No. This is going to be a chill weekend. I'm going to dress like Nathan Lane from the Birdcage, put on big sunglasses, and I'm just going to sit on the beach.
I think that, and this isn't because of like measuring blood pressure or anything like that, but I think that my husband's a little concerned about me in general when it comes to like the amount of work that I've had to do lately or my reaction to the amount of work that I had to do lately. Because this morning I noticed that he sent an email connecting me with someone who is like somebody who finds like the root cause of your negative energy and helps you deal with that. And I was like,
all right.
Okay, all right. I see the message. I see it loud and clear.
Hey,
I'll
darling,
work on that.
Did you know that they have telehealth mental health counseling? Here's a link. You
I
should
think
check
the
it out.
word that stuck out to me was saboteurs. Like, like these saboteur traits that you have, and then she helps deal with that. I'm like, you know what?
Reach out. See,
You know,
what's the worst that could happen?
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, unless they're going to do the Democratic National Convention every night for the rest of my life, I need to find a joy somewhere else too.
True. So yeah, I mean, speaking of that, did you do anything else this week other than cheer on democracy?
I did, kind of, sort of, in a way. I hit my 35-pound mark, so I just want to bring that up.
Congratulations.
I'm very excited about that. I've got 5 more to go, and then I will start putting a weekly rotation of something like, I don't know, pizza or something back into my diet.
Yeah.
On my way to continue to lose weight. Or so what I do with Weight Watchers is you're given a certain amount of points, and then you're given a certain amount of weekly points. So you get daily points and weekly points. I don't use them all. I eat mostly foods that are 0 points, and then or at most 3. I won't have more than 3 points in one meal. So what I'll start to do. Once I get down to 5 more pounds, I'll start using all the points that I'm given, and then just stick to that. And I should then continue to sort of like level out to where I probably should be according to, science. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's good.
Nice.
I'm wearing clothes I haven't worn in a long time.
Very nice. I was going to say
Including
that
this
shirt
shirt.
doesn't look familiar.
No, it's been a long time. It might be familiar from Skinny Rick, so there's that. But other than that, I've just kind of been in like Watermark's 30th anniversary frame of mind.
Yeah.
And we've got our celebration coming up
That's right.
on Thursday, which is kind of interesting to me. It's sort of, like it's like Pride's, right? You're so busy and you got all this stuff going on, and Pride's coming up, and people are like, "Hey, are you excited about Pride?" And you're like, "Hey, my 2000 Pride event, yay!"
Yeah.
And you're excited about it, but you're not like really into it. And that's kind of how I've been to an extent. But as it's getting closer, it's actually starting to make me really excited about it. So it's kind of cool. So we decided, because we're not busy enough, right?
Right.
I think this is also another one of Dylan's tactics to kind of be like, making cookies relaxes him, so let's make cookies. So we kind of came up with this idea to make cookies for the party, and it's turned out to be really great. So But then we were like, oh, let's watch some videos on how to make on how to decorate certain kind of cookies to up our cookie game, because we've got Bebe Bakes and we've done some really cute things with them. But we're like, let's take it up another level. So we start watching these. Have you ever watched videos of people decorating cookies?
I have not. No.
Have you ever had sleepless nights?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what you do. Put on a video of somebody decorating cookies and you will be out. As much as we love to do it,
Yeah.
we're watching this and then I look over and he's asleep and I'm like, oh, keep one. And I'm out. But in watching it, we learned that if you want to write things on it and have them be uniform, that you should get a cookie projector, which is like this tiny little projector that you put on this little stand and it shoots the image down onto the cookie. And so we bought one, and he's the one who decorates. I cook them, he decorates them. So we've got all of these balloons that say 30 on them. And right now, today, he probably left work early. I don't know if he mentioned this to you, but there's nothing for him to lay out. So he's at home putting the Watermark logo on these little banner cookies that we made. So that's exciting.
Nice. You want to talk about the party in the exhibit?
We can talk about it for sure. I mean, we're going to talk about how we felt about it on Monday when we record the next one. But I'll just mention, because I'm such a fan of them. Scotty Campbell over at the Orange County Regional History Center asked me at the beginning of the year, what our plans were for the 30th celebration, and we were like, oh, we'll probably have a party. We don't really know. By February and March, it was looking less and less like we were going to be able to do anything, just because expenses have kind of skyrocketed and we're just not in the place to put a budget of like $5,000 to throw a huge party for 200 people. And so he came up with the idea that the Orange County Regional History Center would put a display together of our 30-year history, and that we gave them a bunch of photos, we gave them covers, a timeline and stuff like that, and they have put together something. I just was there earlier this morning to kind of walk through about what our little event's going to look like, because we're going to have probably about 60 people come and check it out, and it's great. It's incredible what they did.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed with them and so grateful that they've done this. They did this at their own expense. And it's great. In fact, they were going to, we gave them a bunch of covers, and they were going to take like 8 of those and they were going to put them up on a wall. And when they looked at all of the covers together, it sort of told this arching story of the LGBTQ plus community of Central Florida and Tampa Bay. And they were like, no, we can't pick 8. We're going to do all of them. So it just goes the whole length of this exhibit. In fact, the exhibit was supposed to be kind of smaller and downstairs, and now it's up in a bigger exhibit hall, which is fantastic. So there's there's a timeline, which is adorable. You kind of see it in the picture he sent. That we're putting with the press release.
I'll be honest, because we put a press release together and sent it out, and you had sent a picture to the staff, and you're like, "This is the only thing I'm going to show you. I want you all to be surprised." So when we asked Scotty to send a photo over to send with the press release, he sent over like 20 photos. So I got to see
Did
the
you
exhibit.
Look at all of them?
Yeah, and
Doesn't
it
look
looks
great?
amazing. I cannot believe
Not
people
at
are going to
all.
be so
Not at all what you were expecting,
no,
right?
No, it blew my mind.
I get chills. I'll tell you what, this is the moment that everything changed for me. Is we were walking towards the hall and we turned the corner, and the first thing that you see is that big 30th anniversary logo right there. And it took my breath away. I was like, oh my God. And then I look to the left and I see that timeline, and I'm like, what?
Did you cry?
I did not, but I was so giddy. I was so giddy about it. And I'm so excited about it. So then there's that timeline, and there's, then it's kind of cool. Like the whole, the progression of logos.
Yeah,
That's
and they
really
included
cool.
Our logo for Why Not. They have the Greetings from Queertown logo, all the different logos. They have a little seating area so you can read the current issue, which will be the 30th anniversary issue when you get there.
And that seating area is right there. Next to the seating area is a wall of photos.
Yeah.
And then there's a TV in front of it that plays clips from Greetings from Queertown Orlando, which is great.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And it's got like little clips of things, but mostly it's of Tom Tom Dyer talking about why he started Watermark, which is really incredible.
Yeah.
And they've got this the covers are in like a chronological order. I thought it was going to be one cover from every year, but it's some of them are multiple covers, but it just shows how, I mean, it really tells the story of Watermark.
Yeah.
You know, we always talk about how what we do here is we take things that are of national import and we talk about how that affects our local community. And you go through that thing and you just see every major milestone for 30 years, like every major thing. And it's right there. You've got Matthew Shepard, 9/11, Pulse, all these things that mattered so much to the world and how it affects our community. It's just great.
Yeah.
I mean, it made me want to do so much more, which sucks because it's just a couple of days away, and now it's costing me a lot of money to make it look like I want it to look now. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm like, well, now we got to get flowers here, and we need to step and repeat here, and we're gonna do a slideshow over here, and we got to. So the wheels are turning, and it's gonna turn out to be really good.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, it should be a really good exhibit, and it'll be going on through, I think, December 15th.
Yeah, through December 15th.
Yeah, lots of time
Hey, and listen
for people
here.
to see it.
Listen to this. I don't know if it is going to cost anything to get into it normally, but I will say that they are, you know, at like Pride, and they may give us some of these things too, but they're going to pass out because October is the reason it's going to stay up so long is October is LGBTQ plus History Month. And so this is just a perfect match because our Pride is that month. It's our 30th anniversary, and so we've got this display up, and they're going to be handing out tokens for people to go see it at no charge.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I told them if they wanted to give us stuff to pass out too, we would do that. But it's really great. It's incredible to see, and for me, for being with Watermark for 23 years almost, that's the emotional part of it. It's that there is almost as much history of mine in that room as there is of my life outside of that room.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So, get out and see it. I think it opens on the 24th, which is Saturday?
Yeah, I think it opens on Saturday.
Yeah.
And,
so starting this weekend, if you're listening in the future.
Today's the 26th. It started last Saturday.
Oh, it's already going on.
It should be open.
Oh, it's open now.
Yeah,
so
and
get
it's
out
great.
and see it.
Yeah, it looks great.
Beautiful. So exciting. Anything else happened this week you want to talk about?
I don't think
or
so.
preview something from next week?
I know, right? And we're going to tell you all about what we just
Yes.
talked about. You know, the only other thing that I wrote down, and I think that because it's absurd, so I like to say this, in this whole idea of let's start decorating cookies for this event, and we were trying to decide what we were going to use, and so we started thinking about what cookie cutters we have. So we were like, well, let's just go through them. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen our collection of cookie cutters.
I have not, no.
But I'm talking hundreds of cookie cutters. So we just started to go through them and like dump them all out onto the living room floor. We washed them before we used them, so don't worry about this. But
Nice.
we dumped them all on the floor and then started putting them into categories, and then we've got them in boxes now, and they're all organized. But
Nice.
it took us over 2 hours to do this. This is our big Friday date
What's
night.
the largest category of cookie cutters you have?
Hearts.
Heart? Oh.
Over 150.
Wow.
Hearts. So many different, and there were some like holiday ones, like Christmassy ones, that we had the exact same cookie cutter, like 8 of the exact same
Lord.
one.
So in your heart box, if I got you a Brett the Hitman heart cookie cutter, would you put it in the heart box or your professional wrestler box? I'm just trying to figure out your sorting strategy.
Well, it would have to not match the other Brett the Hitman Heart ones that we
Oh,
have.
I knew you'd
Otherwise-
have one. I knew you'd have that one. You know, it's funny because I don't do a whole lot of cookies, make a lot of cookies other than the ones you break out from a package. But I had ordered sugar cookie cutters. I'm a big South Park fan, and I have one of Craig and Tweak, who's the little gay couple, and I have their heads in cookie cutters. So if I get those to you, you should make me
Well,
some
make some
Craig
for your
and Tweak
birthday or
cookie
something like
cutters.
that.
Yes.
Now they're not like the stamps, right? Like It's
What do you
just
mean?
the outline of their heads. It's not like detail. Because
No,
sometimes
it's just the outline of
All
their
right, cool.
heads. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes they get like if they're going to be really confusing in detail. They're it's hard to describe, but it's not just a whole like a cookie cutter outline. There's stuff in the middle of it.
Yeah,
Those we don't like those.
Yeah, those these I'm pretty sure were made on a 3D printer.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
Yeah.
a lot of the like. There's a lot of plastic ones that are, but we make thick cookies, so we've got to have like thick, like they got to be tall. The cookie
Yeah.
cutters in order for us to use them.
And they're probably about a half inch, 3/4 inch.
Yeah, we do.
Tall?
Yeah, our cookies are at least a half inch thick, so that's that's good. There were so many that we had to throw away because we didn't know what they were.
You didn't know what they were?
No, we were sitting there, no, because you're looking at. I mean, it's just an outline of something. And some of them are very easy to know. But do you know that it's very difficult to tell the difference between? Oh, now I can't remember what it was. There was like a light bulb and a skull. Or we're like, what is that? Is that like a mushroom or is it a skull? It's so very difficult. Anyway, there were a lot of things that looked like there was probably some kind of animal. And we're like, I don't know what this is.
Is there a big demand for skull-shaped cookies?
Well, for Halloween, yes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I guess
It's a big thing, Halloween.
Oh,
And then you
gotcha.
got those like, what is it? Day of the Dead.
Yeah,
Thank you, Caitlin, for the pronunciation that I cannot repeat.
in original Latin. Sorry, y'all couldn't hear that.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Yeah. No, that's that's a lot of cookie cutters.
Yeah. Oh, and cats. We had a lot of cats. Not the musical cats.
Of course.
I would have kept every one of those.
Yeah.
No, I would not. But a lot of Halloween cats.
You should have had a cookie cutter yard sale. All cookie cutters.
Yeah. I mean, hey, for a nickel, you can
$1 a cookie cutter.
huge bags of them. You're gonna take them to like some place where they can sell them.
Yeah.
Pay it forward. They
That's
were
a good
paid
idea.
forward to us, so we whittled it down. And now pay it forward. But I'm
Very
excited.
nice.
Excited about it all.
Yeah. Can't wait to see the cookies.
Speaking of excited,
Yeah.
you want to talk about the
Lord.
exciting? Let me tell you, I've come to terms with Big Brother.
Mm-hmm.
In the terms like I realized something. I was getting way into it as if I'm somehow
you were winning?
Well, like I'm somehow invested into this, or like I'm
Yeah.
best friends with these people, and we got to pick a side, and you got to do it like this, and this is the way this works, and I mean, come on. So I've taken a chill pill about it all.
Yeah.
I feel like I upped my blood pressure medication.
Sure, yeah.
To get to a good place with it all.
This show will do it.
But it turned out, I think maybe after all the joy of the DNC, I'm watching BB, and I'm just trying to throw in a bunch of letters, and it made me realize the absurdity of it. But then there's a moment, and I won't talk too much about it right now because it's like a moment from last night.
Yeah.
Where I was watching this, and I said, this is absurd. I am not emotionally getting invested into anything else that comes out of this season. Like it usually works and you get in there and there's just a way that it's done. But I kind of realized, and I'm not comparing this person to anyone's political anything, but there is a person in the house who plays a character, and and it's kind of Trumpian in this sense of, this is the way that you're used to everything going, and we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it my way, and this is how it's going to go. And rather than get upset about all of that, I will just sit back and enjoy, the game of it all.
Yeah.
And so, but God, when we get to that moment, I in my brain, I etched, I can't wait to hear what Jeremy has to say. And I'll just tell you who it is.
Of course, it's Tucker.
I mean, that's who that's the person. But I'm saying this moment that I watched where I kind of said, that's it, I'm out. It's between Chemo and Rabina, and it's in the bathroom. And I was like, nope. I was like, I cannot invest any emotion into this season if this is what these people are going to do.
It's worse when it's the people that you like who do shit like that. I will say, because I spent some time on X this weekend looking at people's opinions on Big Brother. And I found that there are two camps of people watching Big Brother. There are people who are either new watchers like myself or just lackadaisy watchers, like people who aren't super invested, like, oh, I see Big Brother's on, I'll watch an episode, who are loving the chaos of this season. Like, this is total chaos, and I dig watching it. And then there is what I'm going to call Big Brother purists, who are losing their shit. I can't tell you the amount of videos I watched on X of Big Brother super fans saying there is a formula you're supposed to follow, and these people are not doing it. And they were like infuriated.
Yeah.
And it was making me laugh.
I get it. You know what? I get it, guys. I'm talking to you now. I'm talking to the Big Brother purist, right?
To the gatekeepers.
I get where you're coming from. But I'm also going to tell you, let it go.
It's not worth it.
Let it go,
It's not
man.
worth the stress.
It's not worth it. And you know, and here's like, and I think I said this in a previous week. I form my opinions of the people in there based on what they say to the other contestants versus what they will admit to in the diary room.
Yeah.
And if you don't admit your stupidity to the other people, to the viewers, then I don't really care about you.
See, my view on that is they may very well, and the producers are like, oh no, we're not gonna put that on because we want them to be perceived like this, or we want them to be. I go into this because, and I mean no disrespect about this, I find reality TV to be the lowest form of television entertainment. And that is because it doesn't matter what reality show it is, the producers are just there to get the ratings up. They don't care if they paint an accurate picture. They don't care if they make somebody who has a valid argument look like a dick. They're just there to get your blood pressure up so you keep watching.
Yeah.
And that is why I can't stand reality shows, and I very rarely watch them.
I agree with that, but here's an example of what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're going to lie to everybody, then don't sit in the diary room and tell me that you're hurt that someone lied to you.
Yeah.
So Tucker did that this last go round.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, these snakes that are lying, and then like you just lied to them about who. So, it's like, at least admit, and that's one thing I enjoy about Quinn is that Quinn's like, I'm trying to lie to people and scheme, and it keeps biting me in the ass, and it makes me laugh. So that, because he's sort of admitting I'm out there playing a game and being a character. And so, and I finally get that's what Tucker's doing. Except, it did bite him in the ass. Like, it's fun when there's the people you like a little less than the others, and something bad happens to them. You're like, but I get that. And something that helped me get over this hump, and I'm speaking to the purist again. The producers have created something, and they've actually hired a cast of characters to make that happen. Mm-hmm. And then they decide how you're going to perceive that person. It's, I like to think, and this is what Big Brother used to be, right? So if you're going to be a purist and you're going to get mad at somebody, get mad at the producers and say, hey, producers, how about you get actual everyday people and put them in the house, and not people who are seemingly
seeing this as a step to influence and fame.
Yeah, or who have been on other shows and are trying to make a career out of being in reality TV, right? So, like, there are several people in the house, and they're all connected somehow too. Even Tucker is friends with a previous winner or something like that, and it's sort of like, so that they're getting some sort of coaching about what's going on in there. And it's like, let's just get randos and put them in. Isn't that the point of it? You take 16 random people and put them in a house together and see what happens. Yeah. Not everybody who's been on Dr. Phil and everybody who's been on The Price is Right and, who have done all these other things. Just don't, like, they're curating a list of characters that they're trying to make something happen, when the most compelling is just when things happen naturally. Yeah. But again, reality TV isn't real. Yeah. It's not reality.
I agree with you, except this past week I also went back and watched the very first episode of the first season of Big Brother.
Oh, God, no.
And God, what a boring, dull piece of shit television that was.
Well, they made a lot of mistakes that first season. One was it was 5 hours a week.
Yeah.
It was every day.
Also, what the hell is that house? It's like a silo inside of a warehouse or something. It's so weird.
Yeah, well, it's a sound studio. I mean, it's a.
But even like now, like I know it's a sound studio, but it doesn't look like it has more of a house feel to it. This just felt like a prison, like a Chinese concentration camp.
Yeah, and they were all in rooms with bunk beds.
Yeah, it just felt real sterile.
Yeah, and you had to work for food. You had to compete
you had to
for
garden
food.
and you had to grow. No, I was like, no.
The first season, I don't know when it switched to the format. It has not. There was no like Power of Veto and that kind of stuff. There was no game like that to it. But if you go back several years in between there you start to see where it is, and it was interesting, and they were just random people.
Yeah.
Or at least maybe I'm the idiot. Maybe I'm just naive and thought that they were. So let's jump.
Let's jump in. Episode 17.
So where we left, it's weird because we start talking about these on Wednesdays. So we've got people on the block, and so we start with the veto competition episodes.
Yes.
So on the block is
Brooklyn, Cam, and Quinn.
And Tucker is head of household.
Yes.
So the show starts off, and you know what I'm starting. It's interesting when that gets like a smaller cast of people because people are going home. Then they start having to focus on other people. And Joseph is turning out to be really weird.
Yeah.
But delightfully weird in some way. I don't know. Jen sent me something today that people that watch the live feeds, apparently he's like sits in the chair and talks to himself.
Oh, Lord.
For the cameras. And apparently he has a huge crush on Leah.
Interesting.
And he's sat in the chair and he's like, you're supposed to be here to win money. You're not supposed to fall in love. You're so stupid. You need to like.
Good Lord.
Isn't it kooky?
Does Leah know that he's crazy?
I don't think anybody does unless you watch the live feeds. So anyway, the episode starts off with Joseph Joseph's telling Tucker that about the collective. He's throwing the collective under the bus, which he is a member of.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So let me tell you what, there's something about this season. No loyalty. There's no loyalty to anyone at all. It's so different than other seasons because you will find a group of people who will sit with each other. I heard a noise and I got paranoid that my camera turned off. So they'll at least stick together. A couple people will. You know, like if Matt didn't go home, I have Matt and Chelsea and Leah would have stayed in a group together, in an alliance. But this is basically like, you know. Yeah,
I think, and I say this as somebody who actually enjoys watching Tucker be chaotic. I think Tucker has gone as far as he has because nobody in the house seems to have loyalty. If they'd have all had shown loyalty, they could have got him out weeks ago.
They would have. And also, there's gonna have to be. I do like one thing Quinn said. Is there nothing he can't do?
Yeah, he is quite impressive.
There's gonna have to be. You can't win every single competition you're in. There will be one that he loses.
Yeah.
So far he's proven to me that he deserves to win. So if he keeps winning, great. At least he knows, right, that like his chaos has thrown a target on his back, and he's like, I got to win to stay in, and I got to respect that. So Joseph throws the collective under the bus, and then Chemo tells Tucker about the Pentagon. And I think that Chemo only tells secrets to Tucker so that he can get Tucker to get in close to his face and he can whisper things into him because he's in love with him. So then after that, so Tucker tells Quinn, listen, you're not my target.
Yeah.
People think I'm coming after you, so I'm telling everybody I'm coming after you. But really, I want Brooklyn out. So you just lay low, keep your mouth shut. If I win Power of Veto, I'll take you down, put somebody else up, and Brooklyn goes home. So just keep your mouth shut and don't do anything.
Yeah.
So what does Quinn do?
Quinn goes to Brooklyn and tells her the plan.
Right, because Brooklyn is his friend. And so Brooklyn keeps that information to herself. No,
she doesn't.
She goes right to Tucker and says,
and she's like, Quinn just told me this.
Right. And so then Tucker's like, damn it, Quinn,
His exact quote, the snakes are snaking.
Yes. Yeah, so that was just super annoying, and that's another point of the loyalty. Then like the best thing in the world happened.
Oh my God,
this is the best. This is why Big Brother.
I hate her, but I don't want her to go home.
Right, I do hate her, but this is why I watch the show. It's moments like this, and it's dumb.
Yeah. So Angela is a have-not this week. But the week before, she was HOH, and I guess they stocked their fridge full of all sorts of goodies.
Yeah, when you win HOH, like I think what I'm guessing, it's like you give them a list, like, hey, if I win HOH, here's all the things I want. You want these certain photos, you want, this kind of food, this kind of drinks, and when you win, you get all of that.
Yeah. So she had like meats and cheeses and things like to make a charcuterie board.
Yeah.
She didn't use any of it. Then she became a have-not.
Why didn't she use any of it? She
I don't
had a
know.
household for a week.
Maybe they just gave her an overabundance and she just couldn't get through it all. So she's a have-not. So all she gets to eat is the gruel. So all of her
slop for the purist. It's slop.
So all of her stuff went into the fridge for her to enjoy after she was no longer a have-not. And a group of them, but led by Brooklyn, decided
Brooklyn, what a bitch.
we're going to make a charcuterie board of all of Angela's shit she can't eat right now.
and make a production out of it.
Holy crap. She did the little salami rose with the wine glass. It was pretentious.
It was beautiful. And everyone's in on it. Like, well, she makes it.
Yeah.
And then everybody's around
eating it.
And Angela's sitting there at the island, and she just like sighs, and she's like, "Oh, all of my meats and cheeses." And you would think that's all that was going to happen here. No, like. So then the editor here. Kudos to the editors and the producers, the Big Brothers, for this little montage. So Angela's had it. Like she's legit broken up about this.
Yeah.
And over meats and cheeses. And it's probably because I get it. I get hangry. And if I was eating slop for a week and people were eating my favorite foods in front of me, I wouldn't be happy either. So she has a fit. She goes into the living room and lays down.
Yeah. She wanders the house and just lays on the floor staring at the ceiling.
And it's like, like that guy in Office Space who's just like...
Oh, with the stapler?
Yeah. That's how she is at this. She's laying on the ground and she's like mumbling, meats, cheeses, meats, cheeses. And every time she says meats, it cuts to somebody with a smile on their face like, oh,
eating
this
her
is so
meats.
good. Ah, yeah. Oh, did you try this? It's so good. Yum, yum, yum. And she's just like, cheese, meats.
And then she goes in the diary room, and she's not even sitting on the chair. She's on the floor, leaning on the chair, staring into nothingness, just completely broken that they're eating her meats and cheeses.
Yeah, because then it goes from like sorrow and despair of the stapler guy, and it turns into that little kid from Better Off Dead, where he's trying to collect $2, and she's got this anger, like, I want my meats and cheeses.
Yeah. So apparently, I think Brooklyn noticed when she was mumbling at the counter because she was saying, well, we don't want it to spoil. And then they cut to Angela in the diary room and she's like, meats and cheeses will not spoil in just a week, Brooklyn.
She's so mad at Brooklyn.
And she's so mad. And it cracked. And when we get to the point where they're voting someone off,
we'll talk about that.
She cracked me up.
All right, do you want to?
So then we have the veto comp.
Do you want to tell everybody who's in it and what it is? I apologize, but I have to run out for 2 seconds. But I'll be right back.
Okay, yes. So the veto comp. Well, you've got Tucker, you've got Quinn, you got Brooklyn, and you got Cam. So they draw. Tucker has to pick 2 names, and it's Mackenzie and Joseph. Well, Tucker pulls his own name, and then he picks Joseph to join them. So you got those 5, and that is when, after he pulls the name, when Brooklyn goes to Tucker and tells him what Quinn said. Of that he's the pawn and that he's going after Brooklyn.
Yeah, but see, this is an example of don't be calling people snakes and liars when you're lying to them too. But I get it. It's what happens, and a lot of this too. Before you get angry about what people say in the show, they may have been told what to say. Like the producers might have been said, "How do you feel about people lying to you?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, there's snakes in the grass." Oh, boom, and then they got their clip.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So we go into the veto competition. It's called Hide and Go Veto.
This is a good one, right? They haven't done this one in a couple of years.
Yeah, they all seemed excited for this one. So it's a hide and seek game. So everybody's given a memory card with their name on it. And then one at a time, they have to go in the house and they have to hide it. And then one at a time, each one of them goes to the house and tries to find the memory card that isn't yours. And whoever's memory card is not found, then they are the winner of the competition, the veto competition. So they're tearing up. This part, it's like, Brooklyn, if I couldn't hate you any more than I already do, I hate you for being this.
But I do want
petty.
to remind you too, on the other side of this house, like, and this is a thing that I said about Tucker too, because they did show later on, they show a human side, like a real person in this game, because they all are really real people. But all these people are saying like, I love you, and blah blah. And I'm thinking, like, to certain people in the house, like, how can anybody say that? Everything that we've seen about this person is awful. Why would anybody? So they're creating her to be this way, but her action was still her action.
Yeah,
and it's completely uncalled for.
Yeah, because everybody else who came to the house, they're like lifting cushions or they're moving stuff, but they're not going crazy.
Right.
Brooklyn comes in and goes to Tucker's clothes and just takes handfuls and flings them across the room just to be nasty.
And does it with other people too.
Yeah,
Kimo
does it with other
and
stuff,
Joseph,
too.
like anybody that's wronged her. And so that's kind of the motivation. If she was doing it because she was actually frantically checking the pockets for things and throwing them, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But she knew she wasn't going to find anything. She just wanted to create.
Just being nasty.
She just wanted to mess up their clothes. Mm-hmm. Or create chaos, as some might say. But anyway, you're going to do it. Own your actions.
Yeah. So they're running around and surprise, surprise, Tucker wins.
What?
Yeah.
Good for him for winning his
So
first
he's
comp.
HOA and he got the
HOH.
power of veto. That's what, did I say HOA again?
I mean, he acts like an HOA. so I
HOH
guess-
and the power of veto. So we go.
I will say this too. I was excited because I mentioned this to Jen. His winning that veto was the least obnoxious that he's been about winning anything.
Yeah, he's starting to tone down a little bit.
I mean, I guess after a while, you just get bored of it.
With all that winning,
If he really wants to create chaos, he'll lose a competition or two because people won't know what to do with themselves.
So we go to the veto meeting, and Tucker keeps his word, and he pulls Quinn down.
Yeah, even though he goes through this whole thing about Quinn betraying him and how stupid Quinn is. One thing, this is one of the little things that I'm just like, what they show me as I'm like, Tucker, there are other people. This is a thing you learn in 12 steps. You can't control other people. Other people have a right to play the game the way they want to play the game.
Yeah.
Like those people aren't put in this house to play your game. Oh, no, I was thinking because there was before the veto competition, they started talking about, or is this after the veto competition, where they start talking about who they might send home? You know what? It's afterwards. Never mind. I'm just having a conversation with myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for indulging me.
So Tucker
Go
pulled Quinn
on.
down. And he puts Chelsea up.
Aren't you glad I went and got another can of energy drink?
But before he puts Chelsea up, he decides to just blow everyone's game up.
Oh, because Quinn comes clean to Tucker. He's like, you know what? I need to go and tell Tucker that I told
Brooklyn. And,
right.
Yeah.
And that's when he finds out that Brooklyn. This is so funny when people feel betrayed. I feel so betrayed. Like, you just betrayed somebody and now you feel betrayed by somebody else. So he admitted he told Brooklyn that she was the real target and then came clean about the collective and the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And just confirmed what everybody else had said. So Tucker's then like, okay, I'm cool with you. So he goes ahead and pulls him off the ball.
Yeah. And before he puts Chelsea up, he tells everybody in the house who the collective is, who's in it, who the Pentagon is, who's in it, and just blows up everybody's alliances. And then says, so I'm putting Chelsea up because she's the mastermind of the Pentagon and Brooklyn is the voice. So that's why you two are up there. And that is where we end episode 17. And then we go into episode 18. After all of this is done, and they start with Brooklyn in the diary room telling the audience, Tucker, I'm smarter than you. Brooklyn, you don't seem smarter than anybody. Now, I can get hate for Tucker, but Brooklyn thinking she still has any game left is hilarious.
I enjoy like the quotes from people about, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to win this and I'm going to show you, and you ain't gonna do crap.
No.
You don't have the talent. It's not gonna happen.
No.
And I see that a lot. I wrote this little line down, and I can't remember specifically why, but I'm like, Brooklyn makes me root for Tucker, and I don't like it.
Brooklyn may have been what charged me to become a Tucker fan because I cannot stand her. And there's people in the house who I'm like, ugh, I don't like your game. I don't like who you're aligning with, but I'm sure you're a nice person out of this house. I have no doubt that Brooklyn voted for Trump, refused to wear a mask, and Karen's out at every fucking store she goes to.
There is some illusion in the dialogue between all of these characters that her husband plays professional sports.
That's okay. I did comment that later because
Did you look it up?
no, but we'll get to it because she said something, and I was like, the way that she phrased it, it made it sound like her husband was gay.
What?
The way that she phrased it about playing for the team he plays for.
You'll never,
And I was like, is he gay? What
I
are you
guess I
talking
should
about?
wait for all of that. Well, I seem to have lost the internet connection, so somebody else will have to look up who's Brooklyn married to. Well, we'll get to it.
So the big alliance was the Pentagon, and it seems to be 6th Avenue now. And members of 6th Avenue are becoming a little suspicious of Tucker.
Because they can't be loyal. No
Nobody
one
would.
can be
So
loyal.
Tucker, they didn't show any meetings between this group to imply, oh, they have an alliance going on separate from this. They're just chatting. They're like on the back patio and they're just hanging out, or they're at the kitchen cooking and eating. And they see Tucker talking to Cam, Mackenzie, and Leah.
They're trying to make us think that Tucker and Mackenzie have a thing.
Yeah, because they're
trying to
spending
make
a
it
lot
look
of
like
time
that,
together.
yeah.
So like Rabina and Joseph and T-Core, they're watching it and they're like, what's going on here? Is he turning his back on us and starting alliance with them? And they're just walking through the house together. And it's like, I get in this game, everyone is just paranoid because that's the game. You're living life paranoid. But it's like, have a conversation with him. Go talk to him. Or in Tucker's case, maybe when they see you're spending a lot of time with these 3 particular people, have a little alliance meeting. Be like, listen, I'm just trying to make sure that we have the numbers come time we're voting off. I'm not aligning with them, even though I'm spending a lot of time with them. Just get a dialogue. An open dialogue is all these people need.
You got to communicate with your alliance.
Yes.
That's it.
So you're starting to see cracks.
Yeah.
With the no alliances with anyone. So we go to the AI arena.
Well, before the AI arena, what these cracks are is that, people try to strategize because you're going to have the AI arena right before the vote. So they try to strategize before the AI arena who they're going to vote out in different scenarios of who the final 2 left up are.
Yeah.
And Tucker is like, we're getting rid of Brooklyn, but if Brooklyn's not up there at the end, we're getting rid of Chelsea.
Yes.
Well, the people in his alliance,
Rabina, T-Core, and Chemo specifically
want to keep Chelsea.
Yes.
So they're saying if it's Cam and Chelsea, they're going to vote Cam out and keep Chelsea. So they're kind of like getting the votes together to make that happen.
There's like a mutiny brewing before there's any decision to be made.
And then they charge Rabina with the task of telling Tucker
while they're in bed together.
That this is what they want to do while they're in bed together. It's like, so you've been spending a lot of time with
Game
Mackenzie.
of Thrones. It's like go to bed with your lover and convince him to go to war.
And then of course Tucker's reaction is they're all stupid.
Yeah.
And then that's when I wrote, all right, I forget. No one's allowed to have a strategy other than Tucker because it's got to be his way or no way. But I mean, in this case, he's right.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to understand, like, the only way that any of them have a chance to win outside of him is, like, if they do, even though I don't have any respect for this type of gameplay, getting rid of all of the best players it's just not good for the game. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think I like to see people go toe to toe that are really good. That's why I like this Quinn versus Tucker thing, because I think that they're both good. Like they're Tucker's better, but they're the most evenly matched two in the house.
But when you get people out who are considered at the top of the game, it opens up a space for someone to step up.
Yeah, except for competitions like there's a competition that's going to come up soon. That's it's called OTEV, and it's a veto backwards. And the thing is that you've got to go and grab. You sludge through all these different things and you grab these nameplates that are answers, and you got to climb up this rope on the slippery slope to get up, and you give your answer to OTEV, and OTEV tells you whether you're right or wrong, but every time, like, so if 5 people go out, there's only 4 seats. So the last person up doesn't get to go. I'll just venture to say, I don't think that 5 rounds of this is anything that anyone other than Tucker and Quinn and Cam can manage.
See, we watch very different shows. I want to watch middle-aged doughy people fall and...
Well, that's what they're going to, but I'm just saying in the sense of competition, getting out the stronger players aren't going to make Chemo and Angela any more physically able.
No, it's
going to
make a
that.
more entertaining show for me, though.
Yeah, 100%. There was actually one thing that is a Big Brother like history of in that competition. One of the people slammed their face so hard into that slide.
See, that's what I want to see.
Oh my god, it was like a pet bounce. She ended up coming back to an All Stars thing and won, but yeah. So that's where we are. We go into the AI arena. We explained that they were trying to keep him in, so she had to tell him. Tucker said no.
Yeah.
Don't like the idea. So then we go into the AI arena, and it's like a puzzle of sorts.
Yeah, it's like words are going through the screen, and you have to find the words in the jumble, and then make little pictures of those words you see.
It was actually good. And in fact, it was complicated enough that I was concerned because this is a live competition and they have to go to the vote. And I was like, I don't know that anybody's going to finish this because it was kind of complicated.
Yeah,
you
a
know,
little bit.
It was interesting though. It's hard to explain, but the words would go across the screen like backward and in a weird way. And what you'd have to do is read what it is. Like say if it was underwater basket weaving, then you would go into the room and you would find the picture that looks like it's underwater, and then you would find some sort of
picture of the basket,
yeah. And then you would put it up in there, and then the first person to get all 3 pictures correct would win.
Yes. So Chelsea wins.
Chelsea wins.
Yeah, Chelsea wins. So it's
good for her.
Cam and Brooklyn.
And she needed to.
Yeah.
She needed to win or she was probably going to go home.
Yeah. So it's Cam and Brooklyn. This is probably the best scenario that 6th Avenue could have hoped for because they all seem pretty content at sending Brooklyn home. There was hesitance if Chelsea was on the block and she had to go home.
There was a comment that was made when she said in her speech, so they get up and they're giving speeches.
Yeah, they give the little speeches.
And you know, Cam's was a typical nice, like, thanks everybody, I love you all, we had a great time, blah blah blah. And Brooklyn's was desperate.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of? Have you ever seen that Grey's Anatomy clip where she's like, love me, choose me?
Yeah.
That is what it was like. She goes, you can put me up every week. I'll be the bottom person. Just keep me here, please.
Yeah, there was definitely a desperate plea to stay in there. But she said something when she gave her speech. She said, thanked her family, and she said, Jesus is favoring me in this moment. And I had to write down, it's like, is he? Because if he is, he's the only one.
Well, no.
Because you're about to get
God
voted.
and Jesus and Chelsea.
Yeah, Jesus and Chelsea. That's the name of her Big Brother memoirs.
Jesus and Chelsea. Those who favored me. So they go in and vote. It was 8-1. Everyone voted Brooklyn out except for Chelsea. My favorite was, of course, Angela, who comes in and she's like, you shouldn't have eaten my meats and cheeses. I'm voting for Brooklyn.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time that they showed the house messages.
Yeah.
You know, because I think as it's getting shorter and more time frees up in their hour, they'll start showing goodbye messages from the from the other house guests, and this is the first one, and it's probably because of Angela that they showed it. So Brooklyn's sitting there, and they're showing messages, and everybody's like, and this is like the human side outside of the game, because Tucker is like, Brooklyn, you're a great person, and I can't wait to meet your family, and I'm gonna come to Texas and see you, but you had to go. And blah, blah, blah. So you get to see that they actually do like each other, and they do get to know each other on a level that we don't.
Yeah.
But it gets to Angela, and Angela's like, yeah, I had to vote you out. And then she just yells at the end, you shouldn't have ate my meats and cheeses. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. So as Brooklyn is voted out and she's leaving, that's when she says, I guess you'll never know what team my husband plays for now. And I did not know that her husband played for a sports team. So I was like, was that? See, he doesn't. Caitlin says he does. He's a Marine.
Oh, really?
So is he gay? Because when you say it that way and you don't play sports, it implies me you'll never know what team he plays for. Is it men?
You know,
if he's a Marine, is it men?
It would fit a stereotype. It would fit the stereotype, and I'm only saying this in like you know, the world of childhood beauty pageants that are run by a former beauty queen herself and her gay husband, as in the Jeff Jones comedy that he wrote, it wasn't Little Miss Sunshine, that was a movie, the Miss Sunshine pageant or something like that, and then I can't remember the rest of it, but there is that sort of stereotype out there. So if she is a former beauty queen that now teaches beauty pageants to kids, and
that her career?
I don't know, but didn't they show that she's a coach?
I can't remember.
She's a beauty
now.
pageant coach.
It's probably why I don't like her. I find that career field to be repugnant.
Now, whether it's for children or for like teenagers that are doing it
beauty
when they're a little
pageants
older,
in general are so antiquated. I have no time for that kind of snootiness. And it seems like Brooklyn would be involved in that kind of shenanigans.
I did know, I will say this, that I would say she kind of seems to have resting beauty queen pageant face. This is what I say about Brooklyn. And if Rebecca Ann Lehman did not get eaten by a swan at the end of Drop Dead Gorgeous, she would have grown up to be Brooklyn. But I also do know people who have competed in beauty pageants. There was one, she was Miss Illinois. I went to college with her, and she was the nicest, sweetest, most talented singer, and she was wonderful. So I'm not going to say I'm not going to stereotype a genre of people, but she kind of fits a certain bill.
Yeah. Anyway, so she's gone. Bye, Brooklyn.
Bye.
So we start episode 19. They always open up trying to get me to hate someone. They open up with sad little Leah, who's all Eeyoring herself throughout the house. And she's like, I'm sad Brooklyn's gone. I don't have a game. Why isn't no one putting me in their alliance? Why won't anyone talk to me?
If you want to get into an alliance, just follow Angela's lead. Go up to somebody and beg them.
And just beg them. But she's
offer them meats and cheeses.
Right off the bat, she's just whiny about nothing's going my way.
Yeah, she's very sad.
Yeah.
It can be. I mean, I imagine it can be sad and lonely.
I'm sure it is. Then go home. Pull a Kenny and tell everyone that you're lonely and sad and want to go home, and they'll send you home.
I imagine that people must go crazy. There's so many hours, and then she probably did that for like a minute, and then she went out and was like jokey and lovey, and everybody had a great time. But they needed to show us that because they want us to feel a certain way about her.
It's working, producers, because she's my new Brooklyn right now. Nothing other than that. Nothing really happens before they play the HOA thing, or nothing of
HOH.
mention.
It's very difficult, this HOH competition. I think
maybe I'm just slurring my H because I'm saying HOH, and then you keep correcting me.
Now I'm gonna correct you even if you say it right. I'm gonna gaslight you. But so what they do for the HOH competition is they play a bunch of sounds, like things that people at the house.
I hated this game.
It's like
this game was annoying to listen to.
Yeah, it's like people eating or brushing their.
First of all, I just want to say off the bat, they had a shaving clip of Kenny and then Joseph. Both of them need to meet with someone to teach them how to shave. Both of them, I don't know how they're not all sliced up. The rapid movements.
Joseph is cracking me up.
Of the razor was obnoxious.
He's like holding up his mustache and shaving. It was cracking me up.
He was just whacking at it. I don't know if they sped the video up or not, but I was very uncomfortable watching that.
Yeah, so it's a bunch of sounds, and then they ask them questions about the sounds, true or false questions.
Yeah,
and so the last person standing wins. But it was difficult. So like third question, everybody's out. and there's one person remaining, and the winner was
T-Core, who is H-O-H.
Yes, she
Can I just say something? Because this was obviously a T-Core episode because she was HOH. So she was in a lot. I know that in the beginning of the season, they talked about why she has that weird accent, but it sounds like a speech impediment more than an accent, and it's very distracting.
It's very distracting. But it's, again, we talked about it again last night because she's had a household, and so now she's going to be in a lot more. And so, I mean, I'm sure we'll get used to it, but she grew up in Great Britain.
Yeah.
And then Chicago, and then somewhere else in the Midwest, I think, or maybe
and
New
just
Orleans
made this weird.
And it's this combination of an accent that exists nowhere else on this planet except in T-Core.
In T-Core's crocheted head.
Yeah. What did they call her? Crochet something?
Oh, Crowslay.
Oh yeah,
I wrote that down.
crowslayed.
She's ready to crowslay.
Yeah. So she wins, and then
oh god,
this is the worst.
This is
part
the
of the
moment
show
where I almost threw something at my TV.
I need these three people to get out of the house. I can hate other people for other reasons, but Chemo, T-Core, and Rubina must exit the house. So T-Core and Rubina, Rubina and Chemo, after T-Core wins, had a household, go into the bathroom, and they both
like uncontrollably
convulsively ugly cry, and just
because they're so happy for her. Because
she doesn't understand how wonderful she is, and this is such a big thing because she's such a good person, and they can't believe she won, and it goes on and on and on, like and they're bawling.
It's weird.
It is weird.
It's weird mean girl behavior. T-Core, and not in there because they're not mean girls. They're nice people. But T-Core is the Regina George, and the other two are Gretchen Wieners and the third one, Karen. And they're just like, oh, we love her so much, and she's so perfect and wonderful. And it's like, good God.
Yeah, that was a little much.
She must have given them some free crocheted hats or something, because they're just fucking over the moon for her.
But I'll point this out about Chemo. He can sing.
Yes, because T-Core went up in the HOH room and Chemo went with her. And while she's getting ready, he started to sing. And while I enjoyed his song, I much more preferred the remix that Big Brother did. It's a good song. Put it on Spotify.
Yeah, Jed was actually like, hey, I kind of like this song. It's really just singing in the Big Brother house.
Yeah.
It was reminiscent of the kind of song that you would expect Cora Bora to sing.
Oh,
because it basically had two lines over and over again.
But if you put it on a remix,
yeah,
then it plays in the club, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So T-Core, Chemo, and Rubina bring Tucker in to make. They're doing the same thing. The Pentagon. I'm so glad that inside of the 6th Avenue.
I'm glad that you pointed that out because I wrote this. I was like, okay, so Chemo wants a core group inside the bigger group like Quinn had, and he didn't like it. I get it. That's how it works.
Yeah. So they're the friends with 4 Z's. So that's the new layout for the house. And then last week they announced that they were going to introduce the AI instigator. America was going to vote, or 2 weeks ago, they announced it. And I was watching this, and I was like, I honestly thought they were going to pick Joseph, because I was like, Joseph seems mischievous, like he'll be able to like stir some shit up. And I'm sure you were not pleased with this.
I voted for Quinn. I think either Tucker or Quinn, either one of them would have been good. I think Quinn would have been good because it would have Quinn would also he would be just as good at Tucker as messing this up. It's just what side do you lie in that great battle between Tucker and Quinn? Whatever side you lie on is the side
Which is kind of why I was hoping they'd go with Joseph, because he's on the outs. And I would have liked to see him fuck with everybody. Yeah. But they picked Tucker. America said Tucker can be the AI instigator. So his first duty as AI instigator, which broke my heart. I'm like, oh, that could not have been the outcome you were hoping for.
No, and it's kind of hilarious in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, like not. So the real emotions of it all. I mean, I feel for people when they have their real emotions, like if they are lonely or they have a thing. I mean, I get it, right? And I'm there with you. And so this, I get like where Rabina's coming from. But so what he decides to do is to use the voice of Quinn to call out the showmance between Tucker and Rabina.
Yeah.
Now, Tucker's purpose in this is so that he and Rabina don't have to hide their showmance anymore and that they can do it out in the open.
Yeah,
And,
so he can hold her hand in public.
which is what he wants to do. And he has more time with her as a couple, and that's what he wants. So he does this, but it totally backfires.
Yeah, so Quinn's deepfake says Tucker and Rabina are in a showmance and Pentagon for life. And then...
Which is dumb to say Pentagon for life because
Yeah.
there's only 3 of
Yeah,
them left.
also, we know the rest of Pentagon hates you.
Right.
So they cut to Rabina, and you're thinking, oh, she's going to be like, oh my God, I'm in a romance with Tucker. She starts to bawl.
She's like, why? Keep my motherfucking name out your motherfucking mouth.
And she's like, they're trying to blow my game up and Tucker's game up, and I can't believe they did this. So she storms off, and Tucker goes after her, and they cut to Tucker in the diary room, and he's like, I didn't mean for that to happen.
He's like, oops.
So he goes back there, and he's trying to so he's like, well, I mean, we don't have to hide now, so that's good. And then they have their passionate kiss with the music and the slow-mo. But yeah, that totally backfired.
I'm going
on
to tell you
him.
what. They got a lot more time together before either of them are going to see this. But he's gonna have to come clean about this.
He's got some splaining to do.
He's gonna have to come clean about this.
Oh, yeah.
And say I'm doing this thing.
I mean, he
But
can't
it
now
also-
because one of the things is he's not allowed to tell anybody that he's
Right.
the instigator. So he can't even tell her
I
that he
don't
did
know.
it and why he
well,
did
he
it.
can. He just won't get the money.
Yeah.
So I think that you're going to have to make that decision. Do you want the money or do you want her to really be mad at you when this is over?
Yeah.
So,
Split the money with her. She'll be fine.
As much as upset as she is, I think that when she finds out, she's going to be very upset.
Yeah.
And then guess what?
Angela's
Guess what
back.
happens?
Angela's back.
Guess who has another meltdown?
So Tucker, T-Core, Chemo, and Rabina are hanging out in the HOH room. And they're just chilling.
Well, and
Everything's
they're
calm.
getting ready to talk about who should get nominated.
Yeah. So there's a
And
knock at the... Oh, no, there's a ring at the door.
It reminds me of the Ricky Lake show.
Ding
Do you
dong.
remember that? When
So they open the door, and it's Angela, and that lip's already quivering, and she's like, and they're like, Angela, what's wrong? And she's like, and they're like, come sit down, what's going on? And she's like, I feel like I'm going home this week. And they're like, nobody has mentioned her name at all in this episode.
This is one thing. I don't know if it really happens like this or they just edit it to make it look like it happens like this, but they go to everyone individually and they're all just like deer in a headlight. No
Yeah.
one's saying a word. They're just staring
They're
at her
just
like,
looking over at each other, and she's just like,
and then finally T-Core goes, I'm not putting you up.
yeah.
You're not?
She's so weird. She's
So here's the
fucking
thing.
weird.
Here's the thing. What they didn't show us was, I'm imagining, outside that door.
Is her with
is
her ear pressed to it?
Is her just kind of like ramping herself up, and she's like, "Okay, you're gonna do this. You got to pretend you're crazy, okay?" And then she rings the doorbell, and she goes in and does it. Like, So here's what I've come up with. This is how I will get through this show. Angela isn't real.
Yeah.
This is her strategy. My strategy is I'm going to make everyone think I'm insane, and that's going to get me somewhere. Or it's going to mean that people are always they're not going to know what I'm going to do next, and so they're going to keep me around because they'll always have me to put up later if they have to. So I'm the obvious choice, so they're not going to see me now. I'm going to play this character because I feel like she's playing a role. It's just not, no one is like this. I don't know.
But yeah, so she's all crazy. She reminds me a lot of Glenn Close from Fatal Attraction.
Yeah.
Just that she has a whole scenario made up in her head of something that's completely not going on.
So there's this thing that T-Core's doing. She's going around and asking everybody who they would put up if they had one head of household. She masks it as, I'm trying to find out who the house wants to be put up. But really what you do as head of household is you ask other people who they want to put up, so you find out where they're aligned.
Yeah.
And if they're not aligned with you, you get rid of them. So, when you ask somebody, knowing that, right, that's how this is going to work, why do you get mad at people when they don't give you a name?
Yeah.
Don't get mad at them because they know what you're doing. You're playing a game and they're playing a game. So you could say, all right, I understand that you don't want to tell me and now I don't trust you, so I'm going to put you up. But to say, like, you can't even give me one name, why wouldn't you give me a name? I'm trying to find out who to put up. Yeah, because you want to find out. Like, because the one person who did tell you everyone that they would put up was Mackenzie, and it was everyone that you're aligned with that she would put up. So now
you're going up.
And so she's going to go up, and if she survives, you're going to tell everybody in your alliance that she was gunning for them, and now they're going to be gunning for her. So it's smarter to do like Leah and be like, I don't know. Sure, Jan. That's my new boyfriend.
Cam also did that where he's like, I don't know. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, because Cam's like, you?
Yeah. So Tucker did this thing that he's done a couple of times, and it's like, Tucker, just stop fucking putting your foot in your mouth, where he offered himself up as the pawn if she needs it.
Yeah.
And of course, if you offer yourself up, they're going to put you up. So it comes for the nomination ceremony, and T-Core turns to little keys, and it's Cam, Mackenzie, and Tucker who are up. And yeah. So that's how we leave it until a 2-hour Wednesday show. Dude, I'm giving you 3 hours a week. You're throwing another hour on top of it? Yeah, it's a special 2-hour episode on Wednesday. My God, I have time in my week to squeeze another hour of Big Brother in.
My only problem with Big Brother's schedule is Sundays.
Yeah.
Like, no, football, you don't get the whole damn day. Big Brother comes on at 8. So you know what? Stop the game, play Big Brother, and then put it on afterwards. Or put the Tulsa King on afterwards.
I haven't looked at the ratings. But football might have higher ratings than any of their other shows.
So keep people on. Like, as soon as football's over, they're going to turn it off. No, keep them on. Like, well, let's just watch this for an hour and then we'll catch up with the second half. I'm just saying. Yeah, you know what?
Might write a letter to CBS.
I did these retrospectives. We do it every 5 years. Is we'll do a retrospective on the last 5 years, or whenever we have a big issue coming out. That's like our 30th. And as I'm doing these, when you look up like what was the highest rated show of a year, I picked the highest rated series because the highest rated show is always football. The top 4 spots go to football, and then the Oscars.
Yeah. Which it's dropped in the last few years, but
it was still up there.
Yeah, well, it's because nobody watches network television anymore.
Yeah.
Remember back in the day when, like, on a regular basis, weekly ratings for, like, Friends and Seinfeld was, like, 30, 40 million people?
Yeah.
And, like, now, if your show gets, like, 10 million in a week, you're a hit?
Yeah.
Crazy. They canceled show for less than that in the 90s.
Hey, speaking of hits... we just talked about 3 hours of hits. Let's go to the next thing. So I would like to set this up.
Sure.
We were trying to decide what to cover. Now, if there's not, it's going to change, right? The summer is just usually slow. There's not a lot coming out. We had a couple of releases of LGBTQ films that we watched, but there's not a lot out there. So when we're doing this show every week, that's why we kind of latch on to Big Brother, because that's an easy go-to. They got a gay character, and we can talk about that. But then we're looking for a film, right? We want to do TV and film. And so we start looking up shows that we haven't talked about, movies we haven't talked about that we could. And Sorted Lives came up in a search that I was doing, and I was like, oh, I haven't actually seen Sorted Lives. Have you seen it?
No.
And I thought this would be a great one to do because there's a huge cast of famous people. It's kind of a cult classic, and it's older, but so it's we get an older cult classic like that, it's a good excuse to say, let's go back in time and do this. So, but while I was looking this up and I found this, and I had sent Jeremy this message, like, maybe we should do Sorted Lives. And we're like, oh, okay, this is good. While I was looking for a film, though, I came across this movie. And it's 20-year anniversary. I don't know why we picked 20, but for whatever reason, when we don't know what to do, we say, what movies were
What was
popular
that, 20 years ago? Yeah.
Which I thought, in thinking about it, we should be doing what movies were popular 30 years ago, because it's their 30th anniversary and ours. But I came across this movie, and it, like, the trailer for it is just hideous. And it's called The 24th Day.
Yeah.
And I send this to Jeremy and I say, oh my God, look how bad this looks.
Yeah.
And Jeremy's response is, that's what we're doing.
I wanna watch that.
We're doing this, not Sorted Lives.
I love it.
So I will say, in my brain, before I watched this film, I'm like, we got stuck watching this. Now, I pulled that trailer that I sent you off of YouTube, but there's a trailer on Apple TV for it. But if there's not a real trailer for things, sometimes Apple TV will just pick a random 2 minutes.
Yeah, and just show you a scene. Yeah.
Well, that's what they
Hulu
did.
does that too.
Oh, that's what they did. And it was the worst 2 minutes of this movie.
Which 2 minutes was it?
It was like at the beginning when, and it seemed to be unedited. It was at the very first scene at the bar when they're
Okay.
talking. When
Oh, so they just pulled the opening 2 minutes.
the opening 2 minutes, and it was so like slow, and the film quality for whatever reason is super gritty. And it's not that the movie's not that old. It was the film
It's
quality.
20 years old.
But I mean, it was the same. The one about the petunias had a better film quality than this one, and that's way older than this. And so it just Jen's reaction to that. She got dressed and she said, "Watch that movie. I'm going to my mother's." And she left and went to her mom's house. And she didn't come back until the movie was over.
That's what happened to the wife in this movie.
So that's the setup.
Yeah.
And so we'll go from there.
Yeah. Now that you've apologized to our audience.
I don't know what your impression of this movie was, and I don't want to give mine away until we start
Sure,
talking
yeah.
about it.
So the 24th Day, it's actually based on a play of the same name by Tony Piccirillo.
Sure.
And he wrote and directed the movie version as well. Now, it stars James Marsden, Scott Speedman, and in a very small cameo role before Modern Family, Sofia Vergara. Now, what's crazy, because you're right, this film looks like it was shot to be a Lifetime movie from the 80s. It's very low quality.
Very low quality.
It's it screams Lifetime.
You remember in the first week of Big Brother when Angela said, like you all, for those who came into my room last night, you were great acting, really great acting for a low budget film.
Yeah.
This is what she was talking about.
Now, this is the kind of movie when you watch something like this, like a grainy independent film, it's usually you think, oh, these are before they made it big. Up and coming actors, they're like, hey, this is my break.
Right, like Priscilla, Queen of the Desert,
Yeah.
something like that, because it was their first role for some of them.
Yeah. Terrence
Relatively.
Malick had been acting for decades.
Well, yeah.
But for the most part, yeah.
Like the two other leads,
Yeah.
they were.
So, I just want to read the movie that they did before and the movie after for these two leads. James Marsden, before he did this movie, or the movie he did right before this, was X-Men 2, which made like $400 million.
What?
And the movie he did after this was The Notebook. Scott Speedman, the movie he did before this was Underworld, which was a big $100 million epic, big blockbuster movie. And then after it was XXX State of the Union with Ice Cube, which is not a huge hit, but it was
But
it was a
movie.
big studio movie.
Yeah.
In between these two big studio movies, they both did this. And all I could think in my head while I was watching this is they must have read this and thought, I'm getting an Oscar. This is my Oscar movie.
There is no way they could have read that. Well, you know what? They could have. They just they
were young.
when they were
and-
given this script. They probably were not told the limited amount of money that the studio was willing to spend on this, because it could have been it could have been something really really good.
And I mean, the few reviews that I could find for the off-Broadway play that was done in the 90s of this were actually relatively positive reviews.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like it's written like it's from the 90s.
Yeah.
Like it's if it had been if it was different, like if it was updated somehow, but it just seemed like some of the things that were said
Yeah, it
kind
felt
of gave
very
it.
rooted in the 90s.
Yeah, very rooted in the 90s and very I don't know. It's so interesting, though. I don't know the word to use, but it's just interesting to look back on something like 90s language about something that we have learned so much about and is something totally different now. So it's hard to live in today's vernacular and think, oh, this is how people talk to each other about this subject in the past.
So James Marsden plays Dan.
Good old Dan.
Dan and
Good time Dan.
His roommate is played by is Isabella, played by Sofia Vergara. They're like a little Will and Grace thing going on at the bar. And Tom, played by Scott Speedman, comes up and Dan and Tom are hitting it off. And Isabella is like, all right, I'm going to leave you to yourselves. And then she leaves. And Dan goes back to Tom's apartment with him for a little hanky-panky.
Poor Dan.
Dan, to quote Tom, you should have got out of that apartment.
I do want to say, as we're talking about how it was right off the bat where I said this is the lowest budget film I think that we've watched. It was the same film quality as Naked Boy Singing. But also, the opening credits reminded me of like word art.
Yeah.
It was just very, very weird and low quality. So then they get back. So they meet. There's obviously I forget his name. I just want to call him Grey's Anatomy.
Tom.
Tom walks up to the bar and they instantly make eye contact for whatever reason. Maybe it's from watching the previews or something. I thought that James Marsden and Sofia Vergara were a couple and married. But I guess that was wrong.
No, they're roommates. You find out that they're roommates. Yeah.
To me, I'm like, why are these two married men going back to their room to be friends?
Yeah. So well, Dan is gay. He's just a gay guy with a lady roommate, like everyone in the 90s. And then Tom, we find out later, was married, but we don't know that in the beginning unless you watch the trailer.
So please tell me that Tom is like there's a distinctive moment where this movie takes a turn, but up until that moment, like, do you think that Tom is like pretending to be an idiot, or do you think he's actually an idiot?
I think he's nervous, and I think he's trying to pretend to be stupid to kind of lure Dan in.
Because they're playing this game that I'm trying to pick up on what the game is, but then they finally get to the point where they explain it, where that they name a movie, and then the other person has to name a person who appears in the credits of that movie.
Yeah.
And they get to Star Wars, to which Tom calls it Star Trek, and then says, the one with that little thing in it, Yogi.
The little green Yogi, yeah.
The little green Yogi. And I'm like, come on, everybody in this world that's ever seen a movie must know that it's Yoda in Star Wars.
I mean, I'm sure there's some people in the world who've never seen the Star Wars movies. I'm sure.
Yeah, but even so, like, wouldn't people have talked about it?
I don't know.
It's just such a
you
part
and
of
I
pop
run in
culture.
circles who talk about pop culture. I've known people who know nothing about movies and TV and want to know nothing about
I run
movies
around
and
circles
TV.
of people who dress up like Yoda.
You do.
And go out and do things.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, of course, we'd know. But back in the 90s, when you didn't have the internet, maybe he was just...
Oh, see?
He was
90s.
focused on... Because he's a sports guy. Maybe he was focused on his sports. So he's all nervous, and they're having a drink. Dan tries to kiss Tom, and he pulls away. And so he starts asking him how many people he's been with. They start talking numbers.
Red flag number one.
Tell me your numbers. And Dan's like, I don't know. I've been not too many. And he goes, what's not too many? And he goes, less than a lot. Which would be what I just said. So he gets it out of him that he's had like 7 partners. And Tom's like...
Not 8?
Not 8.
7.
7.
Well, it starts off at 6.
Yeah.
Not 7. Okay, maybe 7. Not 8. Not 8.
Not 8. And then Tom's like, I've been with one guy in my entire life. So Tom goes to the bathroom or something. He leaves, and Dan's alone in the living room.
He goes to make him drinks, no?
Yeah. No, because he makes the drinks in the kitchen, but he goes into the bathroom.
He says, I got to go to the bathroom. Yeah.
So Dan notices this broken cat thing on the shelf, and he's like, "Wait a minute, I've broken this.
Poor Dan.
I've been in this apartment." Now, I do want to say, you don't have to give details. Have you ever been in a situation like this?
I have been in a situation, where we've established this. I used to drink a lot.
Sure, yeah.
There have been situations where there are people that I have met where they're talking to me like we know each other, and I have no memory of them whatsoever. And then the game becomes, oh no,
Did I? Aw.
Did we? Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens.
It happens.
So this poor bastard
So it happened to Dan.
is in there looking at this, and all of a sudden he's like, I've been here before.
I've been in this apartment
I've been in
before.
here."
And then Tom comes out and he goes, I've been in that before. So he's like, we know each other. And Tom's like, yes.
Now, what's sad about this for Dan is up until this point, Dan's been pulling out all of his best moves.
Yeah.
Like I'm always safe, and I only have intercourse with someone that I have a real
Really care
connection
about,
to.
and I have to connect with
and you have
them.
beautiful eyes, and I want to kiss you, and I want to connect with you. And he's pulling all this stuff out. And now he's starting to realize
that this guy crazy.
that he's said all of this to
Yeah.
this guy before, and this guy is not okay with it.
So he's like, I think I'm going to go. So Dan goes to the door and it's locked from the inside.
Have we hit a flashback at this point? We probably have. Are we going to ignore the
Probably.
fact that this
We'll
movie has
just say
flashbacks?
throughout the movie, they go to these flashbacks where it's like bright white, like the lights are turned up high on these flashbacks of Tom. He works at a restaurant. He gets a phone call and he takes off.
Yeah, and then there's one flashback of some woman frantically getting into
Getting
a
in her
car.
car and she's all upset.
But there's several flashbacks of them at gay bars.
yes.
And you know what's interesting to me that you even pointed out that at the restaurant and at the car it's bright, blah blah blah. And this is something that I want to point out about media from the 90s, even though this movie is not it's from 2004, but
Yeah.
it's on the heels of the 90s, is that every shot of a gay bar, it looks like the entrance is in a back alley somewhere, and it's dark,
Very
and it's
dark
seedy.
and very gross and
Dark,
dirty.
seedy, gross, dirty. And I'm like, I don't know. I've been in bars like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
that are
sure.
gay bars.
We all
but
have.
that's not.
Not all gay bars.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. Have a little joy in the gayness.
Yeah. So Dan wants to leave and he's jiggling the knob and Tom's like, yeah, you need the keys. And he's like, well, give me the keys. So there's a little bit of a back and forth before Tom comes over and he unlocks the door and he opens it and he says something to Dan.
He asks him to hug him.
Oh, that's
before
right.
He leaves.
Can I get a hug? Dan, you should have better instincts. You should have booked it at that moment.
As soon as that door was open,
as
you
soon
get
as it was
out.
open, get the fuck out.
This dude has been lying the whole time. He's been pretending that he doesn't know
he
you.
locked you in his apartment.
Locked you in his. Yeah, like there is definite red flags here.
Yeah.
So he goes, I'll unlock the door if you'll give me a hug before you leave.
Yeah.
Just because you're the only guy I've ever been with and it meant much to me and you don't remember it at all. And I'm just that I locked you in here because that's what because you didn't remember me and it hurt my feelings, but just hug me and you can go.
Yeah.
So he goes to hug him.
So he goes to hug him.
and Grey's Anatomy says, Tom
and
says in his
he
ear,
says, you should have walked out the door. Bam! Slams his head into the wall. He falls down to the ground. He closes the door and you're like, oh, Dan, you fucked up.
I think you made Caitlin pee a little on that one.
And he ties him up to a chair and then draws a blood sample because everybody knows that when you kidnap somebody, you need to get blood samples. So Tom leaves and Dan is left there tied in the chair. And he takes the blood sample to a friend who is going to take it to a lab.
And this movie is just gonna pretend that this is completely normal.
Yeah.
That somebody takes a vial of blood to somebody to a restaurant,
I
and then
was
they
under the
take it to
impression
get it
that
tested.
this must be a friend who's in on this. Maybe a
Right.
friend who knew the wife and is like, we're going to get this guy.
Yeah.
So he's like, I need your help. Gets him the sample. While he's gone getting the sample, Dan comes to and he's like, I got to find a way to get. And this is the thing that annoys me about movies in this genre. There's always these kind of clever plans how I'm going to get attention so they'll save me, and then always in the last minute the plan is botched. So he hobbles the chair over and with his face turns the fucking gas stove on. And anybody who's ever turned a stove on, you need more than just your cheek hitting that thing, because you got to push it and then the tick 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 and then turn it over. No way you're doing that with your cheek. I don't care how talented you are, James Marsden. So then he starts slamming into the refrigerator to knock the rolls of paper towel off of the refrigerator onto the burner and cause a fire, which he does. Good on you. Your plan's working so far.
As we're describing this movie, I just want to put in perspective that a year after this movie came out, Brokeback Mountain came out.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
So the
I hear Ang Lee watched this and said, Bet, hold my beer. I can do this better.
Yeah, I bet after watching that, they were like, James Marsden was like, no, if I wanted an Oscar, I should have spit in my hand. You know what? Because it's interesting. I just want to point this out now, rather than get to the end and wrap it all up. This is one of those movies this is why it has such a 90s feel to it.
Yeah.
And I guess that when I mean, like, if it was updated, if it was okay to be gay in 2004, then they should have. They didn't kiss once.
Yeah.
They didn't show any kissing. They didn't show any affection. I mean, I wouldn't say any, but there's a moment in the film when there's like an embrace of affection, but it's not. There's no indication of real man-on-man connection.
Yeah.
Because,
but I mean, in the film's defense, Tom is trying to kill Dan. So.
Well, I mean, beforehand.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't have, like, they would have kissed on the couch.
Dan tried.
Right.
But Tom was probably thinking, don't kiss me, you have AIDS.
But I find it, I feel like if you're going to go home with somebody, you're going to kiss them in the bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like something like this is going to happen. So what it came across to me as is, here are two straight actors playing gay roles, and put in their contract, I ain't doing gay shit. So, and then it just had that feel. Like it had that, like in movies in the 80s and 90s about gay people did.
Yeah. I get you. I think it would have been weird if Dan was.
Having said that.
Yeah.
I think that the two leads were great.
I think they have great chemistry together.
The chemistry, I wrote that down. Like that cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
In the beginning, really good.
These two could have made a good movie together if they had a good script, good director,
and some money,
and
so high quality.
Their chemistry is real good together.
Film. Yeah, there was a reason that they were good actors. Yeah. I'm just surprised I've never heard of this movie.
Yeah, me too.
Because it had. I mean, that was they were Hollywood stars.
Yeah. I was in a gay relationship when this movie came out. This is something we would have gone and seen. So Tom comes back to the apartment just in time to put the fire out and to turn a neighbor away who was coming to check on the smoke and the smell.
And I just want to ask people, if you're tied up in a chair and your thought process is, I'm going to burn this apartment down while I'm tied to this chair, what is your expectation of survival?
Yeah. I think maybe, and this is just, I'm not in Dan's head. I would be, though. Dan, I think he's thinking, I get a fire going, someone's going to call the fire department, and because the fire department in New York City is top notch, they will be here before I burn up.
I feel like that may be the truth, but you will be dead from smoke inhalation.
Also, because he's tied to a chair, so he's probably not thinking that far ahead. He's just like, start the fire, we'll deal with it after that. Yeah, so fire gets put out, and Tom's like, don't you do that again. And then he asks him straight, he goes, have you been tested for AIDS? And Dan's like, yeah, hundreds of times. Everybody has. I had one right before I came here.
I've had 3. So, like, is that a big number? Do you know how many times I've had an HIV test?
Right?
I mean, like, at least, I mean, it has to be 100.
Don't they tell you to come in every 3 months if you're sexually active? And he's like, I've had 3 in the last 8 years, so I'm good. he tells him, or Tom tells Dan, I am HIV positive. You find out later in the movie he's been HIV positive for 24 or found out 24 days ago. That hence the name of the movie, the 24th day.
I think at some point during this part of the movie, Tom tries to tell Dan that he's not crazy. He's doing this for a specific reason, but he's not crazy. I just wrote down, I hope that I'm never, ever in a situation where somebody is trying to explain to me that they're not crazy.
Yeah.
Because it means they are, and I'm in a very bad situation.
If you're having to tell people you're not crazy, you're probably crazy.
Yeah.
So he's like, I took blood from you. It's getting tested. And if it comes back that you are HIV positive and you gave it to me, I'm going to kill you.
That makes sense. And when he asked him if he's ever been tested for AIDS, I don't know if you picked up on this, but like the music was like dun dun dun.
The music is very weird in this.
And it was such a dramatic thing when it's like, and that's what I was referencing earlier. Like asking you if you've been tested for HIV is like asking you, what did you eat for breakfast? It's no big deal, but this movie, I guess, in this time frame, is trying to make it a big deal.
Yeah, that's a huge. It's very tense. So he says you're going to stay here for 48 hours until we get the test results back, and if it's negative, I'll let you go. If it's positive, I'll kill you. All right, I'm going to go to bed now.
Which is pretty fast for a test. Remember back when it was 2 weeks?
Yeah. So he obviously he knows somebody, so he probably got it pushed to the front of the line, and he's like, all right, I'm going to go to bed now. So he goes to sleep on the couch. Dan is still tied up in the chair, and then he wakes up in the middle of the night to a smell, and he's like, "What is that?" Dan's tied to a chair all night. He shit his pants, and he's like, "I don't know what to tell you."
He had no shame whatsoever about it.
He's like, "I shit my pants.
You tied me to the chair. I had to go.
Do you want to clean it up, or do you want me to?" Right. And he's like, so he decides, okay, he's got a knife, and he's like, "I'm going to untie you, and I'm going to put you in the bathroom. You shower, you put fresh clothes on, and then you get down on the floor, and I will come in and I will cuff you." And he's like, "Aye, aye, Captain. I'm down for this plan."
Did that remind you of any dates that you had?
No comment. All I know is when they tell you that, you go in, you shower, and you get on the floor. So he's like, "Are you ready?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm down on the floor." And he opens the door, and Dan charges at him and starts to strangle him with the cord to the television. And I'm like, dude, save me the next hour. Just fucking kill him. Just kill him and get the fuck out of there. But he strangles him until he's just, choking and coughing. And then he runs the door and he gets the keys. And just as he's about to open the door, Tom comes over and slams the door. And Dan grabs the knife. And there's like this tense moment where he's like, "I'm going to cut you." And he's like, "No, you're." Obviously, Tom can take Dan in a fight. That's what we learned here. Dan cannot take Tom because he gets the knife away from him and then punches him and ties him back up. And that whole scene was pointless. So the rest of this movie is a back and forth of getting to know each other. It's that, like when you see plays, not necessarily Broadway or off Broadway, just plays in general. Fringe does this a lot. It's a lot of like the minutia of life. Like, there's this big event happening, like, "Oh, I'm going to kill you." But let's get to know each other. And then like for an hour of the movie, it's like, "Oh, I went to school and I was a cheerleader and I did this and I did, I really like sports and I went here and I enjoy these movies." And it's like you get to know each other, and it's like, this could have been a short film.
Yeah. Well, I get the reason why. I mean, I listen to I Survived podcast, which I'm obsessed with.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's how people survive is by humanizing themselves and getting involved in these. So I think that was what Dan's thing here was. Let me get him talking.
Makes for a very dull movie, though.
Because then he gets him talking, and then once they build a little bit of a rapport, that's when he goes, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here, Tom?"
And then Tom unlocks the handcuffs and lets him go. No, that's not at all what happens.
Not how it happens.
That's not what happens.
He lied.
I did learn this, though.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Is that Tom is the kind of psycho that you want on your trivia team. Because when they're getting to know each other, Tom knows everything.
Yeah.
Every little trivial detail about anything.
He has, and that's like when they're talking about, tell me about when he's telling Dan, tell me about that night. He remembers every detail about the time that they hooked up. He just has a memory where he remembers everything. So yes, he would have been good. Also, I could see that he would be a very annoying friend. because he would remember everything. So Dan asked Tom how if it comes back positive and you're going to kill me, how are you going to do it? Kind of thinking, what I got from this is his mindset is, I don't think you've thought this all the way through. So if I walk the plan through, you're going to be like, well, I don't know. And he's like, oh, I'm going to cut your throat and watch you bleed to death. And he's like, oh, okay. So blah, 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 blah. Time goes by.
Seems very irresponsible with the whole theme of the movie.
With what?
Protection, being safe.
Oh, yeah.
If he's positive, you're going to cut his throat and let him bleed. Like, somebody's got to clean that up.
Blood everywhere. Well, he's already positive, so.
Well, I mean, for him, he's not the one who's going to clean it up, right? I get the sense
he's going to kill himself after that.
Yeah, 100%.
So, in the talking, we find out that Tom's wife found out that she was HIV positive at the doctor and that she ran a red light, might have been an accident, might have been intentional. She wanted to kill herself. He goes to the hospital, finds out that she's died, and that put this whole plan in motion. Tom now blames Dan, and Dan's like, how do you know she didn't give it to you? Women can get HIV and women can pass it along. And
I actually found that dialogue very interesting.
Yes.
Because I found it true. We believe... I mean, I think this in this day and age, especially when it comes to politics, is we believe the truth we want to believe.
Yes.
And he had decided this is what happened, and that there was no other explanation for how he became HIV positive other than this.
Yeah. So Tom leaves to go get a drink, and he comes back all drunk.
Oh my
and
God.
I thought they were going to have sex here.
Can we talk about this for a second? Have you ever been that kind of drunk that's seen at the bar? Where he was talking to that lady.
Oh,
I mean, she was last call drunk.
Yeah.
She was like, I want to hook up. It's last call drunk. And it was glorious because I felt seen. I'm like, that was my life for so long. But was that the mom from Poltergeist?
No.
It looked just like her.
No. I'd have to double check, but no. I mean, no. She'd be much older, wouldn't she?
You tell people what's going on, and I'll look it up.
He comes back drunk, and he goes to Dan and puts his head in his lap. And it got to this point where I'm like, okay, I think he's gonna start, doing stuff. And Dan, as Tom's crying in his lap, slowly reaches and gets the keys out of his pocket, and he's like, I've got them. And Tom sees them, and then flips out. And they get in this argument, and Tom slaps Dan across the face. Very dramatic moment. So the next morning, Tom goes and he gets the results, and it felt very Maury Povich. He's like, I've got the test results. And you said that you did not have HIV, and the lie detector test found that you are the father. So he comes back, and he sets the envelope on the table. And Tom walks over and he uncuffs Dan from the couch, and he says, you can go. And Dan's like, what? And he goes, just get out of here. You can go. And he's like, see, I told you I was negative, and you had all these misconceptions about me, blah, 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 blah. And so he goes to leave out the door. And as he's leaving out the door, Tom yells to Dan, the test is positive.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then you see Dan slowly come back into the door frame. And he's like...
What you have say?
He said, murderer say what? Dan says, that's impossible. And he's like, no, you tested positive. And he goes, let me just ask you one question before you leave. Have you ever been tested, Dan? Have you? And after a long pause, Dan says, no, I have never been tested. So Dan walks back into the apartment, and we forgot to mention, Tom had boarded up the windows, so it's very dark and gross and seedy in there. So he's pulling the boards off the windows, and Dan takes out the envelope and pulls the little form out and reads his results, and he's got this dreaded look on his face. And just as he does it, Tom pulls the board off the window, and we get that whitewash flashback filter again, and roll the credits.
Yeah.
So that was a movie.
That was definitely a movie.
Now, I will say, I find James Marsden very attractive.
Yeah.
He's even attractive now, he's an older guy. But when he was X-Men 24 Day era time, That man was fucking gorgeous.
When he X-Men, I was in love with him.
Yeah.
When I found out he was casting out, but there was some show he was in before that where I was like, wow, he's beautiful. But is there something quirky about him, like as far as like cancelable or something happened?
That whole thing from the Nickelodeon thing.
Yeah.
The rapist.
Oh,
he
right.
supposedly did one of the letters for the
okay.
rapist.
Okay. Well, yeah.
He also apparently was really good friends with Bryan Singer back in the 90s. When he was under 18, so he may have been allegedly. Allegedly.
We don't know we know nothing.
I still adore James Marsden because the acting.
What did you think of it? What did you think of the movie? Like, if you're rating it, you get 3 grapes. What do you think of it?
I went into this based off of the trailer, thinking this is going to be a horrible, horrendous movie, and I had fun watching. I thought it was an enjoyable watch. I give it a full grape.
See, yeah, I did a little bit of research afterwards. I didn't realize it was a play, and once I heard it was a play, it totally made sense to me. It was a play. I will say that the flashbacks, again, completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
We get the story without it.
Yeah, because he tells us what happened. You don't have to show us.
Right, and it doesn't draw us closer to it. Like, there's no explanation of who this woman is running to her car.
No.
Also, when he runs to his car to go get her and he runs out of the restaurant, like some guy walks up to him and grabs him. Who was that guy?
I don't know.
What was that? What was
his
the point?
boss? Maybe because he's leaving work. He's like, "Where are you going?"
There's no understanding.
The flashbacks more than the movie itself makes it feel like a Lifetime movie.
Yeah, the flashbacks are unnecessary. But I will say, I enjoyed the movie. I don't know why. I was cursing your name when I hit play. Like, why is he making me do this? I'm going to give it a solid 1.5 because I'm going to tell you that the acting in it is good.
These two are fantastic.
They got good chemistry together. They're good in it, and I like that. So, is the script great? I mean, the script is okay, actually. It's the choice of the flashbacks is bad. The quality of the film is very bad. But if you can get past that and like actually just listen to it and watch it, it's an interesting thriller kind of a show.
Yeah.
You don't see this kind of LGBTQ plus movie every day.
Yeah.
It's an interesting twist.
And I don't know where you watched it, but I watched it on YouTube. And it's $1.99 to rent and $3.99 to buy. So totally worth the rental
did
price.
I buy it?
I don't know. Did you?
I think I paid $3.99.
Oh, well, then you bought it.
But I didn't buy it from that. I bought it from Apple TV. So I probably
Apple
rented it for
TV
$3.99.
Jacked you off.
Shit. Well, let me up that to 3 stars, please.
They ripped you off for $2 because you could have got it for $1.99 on YouTube. Also, if you're super cheap and you don't want to pay for it, there is a version on YouTube for free with Spanish subtitles that somebody uploaded.
Do you know why I went? Why I went with Apple TV? Because they were going to jack me off, but because I said this movie is going to suck, and I will not watch somebody's filmed version from their phone from a TV on YouTube. So I had to watch the better quality.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think, based on our whole description of all this, what do you think Rotten Tomatoes was? I'm going to tell you. Do you know what it is?
No.
You're going to be surprised.
Okay. Just saying that, I will say critics must have liked it then and gave it, I don't know, a 75. And I will say audiences hated it and gave it a 40.
What would you have said if I didn't say anything?
I don't know. I feel like nobody liked this movie. Even though we seem to enjoy it, I feel like it just seems like a movie nobody liked. So I'll say 40 for both. Critics and audiences, 40%.
I'm not saying I liked it.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not mad that I watched it.
No, I'd give it a 65 or 70.
If you caught up on all your shows and you're like, oh, what should I watch? I'd say this is a pretty good watch because it's just different than something that you would have seen.
Yeah.
Critics. 27.
Ooh. Critics hated it.
And I think there were like 15 critics. There were over 150 or something audience reviews.
Yeah.
58.
Okay.
No, I would have thought 70. Or maybe in the 60s range for both would have been. I don't think it deserved a 27.
Definitely not a 27. I can see because this movie is going to be for a very particular audience. I think 58 is a respectable score for it.
Yeah, I think.
27 is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's really low. That might be the lowest rated thing we've watched.
No, Naked Boy Singing had to be lower than
I
that.
don't know. We'll have to go back and listen.
I feel like we watched something that was 12%. I'm gonna have to look.
we'll have to go back and look.
Anyway, so that takes care of our.
Yeah. And next week we're going back to the old gay movies. We're gonna
Yep.
watch Lie Down with Dogs.
Yes, another 90s movie.
yeah.
Even though this was 2004, this felt very 90s. We're
This
going
is
back to the feel.
actually
This is actually
90s.
a 90s movie.
So we'll see
and
about
we'll check
that.
in with Big Brother.
Yeah.
All right, but until then, we've got the cork back in the bottle.